Here's something I don't talk about much, and it's funny because my channel is called Oho Ake Books, and Oho Ake Books is my publishing company. One I created in 2008, and all the books that I've written and channeled through parts of myself from other levels of existence, and work with those parts of myself to write the books that I've written. And Oho Ake in New Zealand, I don't want to say Māori because I feel as though Māori is a legal term. I say muri, which is the breath of life. Muri ora, the breath of life. Oho Ake means to rise up or to awaken. And in this moment, in this moment of infinity, it seems very poignant, the idea of waking up and rising up against the forces that wish to control consciousness in this frequency band. And I've struggled with, as an author, as a writer, as an imaginist. I've written 13 books. I've written 13 books, 6 collections of short stories, 3 novels, 2 books of poetry, a spoken word album, produced the entire thing myself, the entire soundtrack myself, wrote all the poems, formatted the whole thing, had a music producer in Australia on the Gold Coast that helped me to do it, recorded the whole thing in my former apartment in Wellington. Not the best sound, but also that's the way I wanted to have it. I wanted to have it like almost like an analog album, what you'd have from the 60s or the late 50s. And I wanted to have that feel to it. And also started a novel, my fourth novel, called Rigmarole in 2019. As a writer who's publishing himself, I found that the self-published market is saturated with books, and therefore, for me, my marketing processes and my lack of self-belief in my ability as a writer, and also there was an underlying fear of being seen in the world, which is now gone. I don't have that anymore. But my marketing processes over the years for my books has been awful at best. I've done my best in the fact that I've chosen to, in my field of the marketing, but I'm in no way a marketing guru or genius. I don't exploit people's vulnerabilities in order to sell my books. My books, I've always felt, when I get my books into the right individual man or woman's hands, everything else will flow from there, and the people that will read the books will get the messages, will get the information, will get the experience, will have the entertainment, everything I need to share in those books, and I've shared in those books that I've written, will trigger in people the awakenings, the activations, the codings that I have put into those books, and I've brought into those books from other levels of existence. So when I started writing those books back in 2001, I wrote the first draft of Sanctum, which is probably still my favorite book out of all the books I've written. It's a love story. And my muses at the time were Aaron and Kathy, who and myself, in regards to my own experience of my memory of the last part of my lifetime on Atlantis, which was very dark, very, very dark. And I look for redemption in that book by remembering my abilities in that lifetime. And I had past life experiences with a woman called Annette, who I called Moon Bear, because I saw her in a field. When we first met each other, I had a vision of her, very strong vision of her, walking through the plains in North America somewhere. It could have been Canada, it could have been Saskatchewan, Alberta, Manitoba, it could have been British Columbia, it could have been somewhere in the United States. I don't know. It was a Native American woman walking through a field of wheat or long grass, waving her hands through the grass, and someone called out Moon Bear. She turned around, and in that vision, when she turned around, I saw her, Annette, when I was talking to her one day when she was walking ahead of me, and when she was walking in front of me, I saw her walking, and then I had this vision of her walking through this field. So my camera just turned off on my phone, on this device, so I had to plug it back in again and charge it. So Annette was walking in this vision. This woman was walking ahead of me in this field. And I heard someone call out Moonbear, and she turned around, and of course this woman did not have Annette's face, but I knew it was Annette. I knew that I had had a lifetime with her in this other part of the world, and another time, another moment. And to me, looking back at that experience, time is not linear in the sense that we look at it in regards to the construct of time. It's actually all happening simultaneously, like a parallel universes. And that also helped me to understand when I was writing the book Sanctum, and I was writing about what I was experiencing and seeing, because I was so deeply immersed in the process of writing. For me, when I write, I am deeply immersed in the process, feeling, thinking, experiencing everything that I write through the character. It's like for me, I'm in a movie acting out all the characters in the movie, directing it, producing it, doing everything basically, and I'm immersed completely in the experience. So when I was writing Sanctum, that experience of me remembering my lifetime on Atlantis, having the visions of those experiences before I started writing Sanctum, and also understanding and seeing my life experience playing itself out with Kathy and with Aaron in a very different lifetime, other than when I was living at the time in Vancouver, assisted me in my process of being an imaginist, to imagine and to put myself into the worlds that I was writing about, because I was actually writing about what I was perceiving in that moment were fantasy worlds. But now looking back at those experiences of my writing processes and all the stories that I've written, short stories, novels, and even poetry, is that I'm looking into other levels of existence that are happening simultaneously around me, and I'm channeling that information, and those voices that move through me are parts of myself. Armand Sueño, the novelist, Pablo Wairua, the Tohanga short story writer, Lord Buford Somerset, the short story writer, Ihor Grace, the poetry writer, and my poetic heart, Ihor Grace. They're all parts of myself, and I'm channeling into my being, into this body, and I'm expressing those voices with my own voice interjected with them in a way that allows people to actually understand and get a comprehension of what I'm talking about, what I'm writing about, the stories that I share, what I'm seeing, everything. So I haven't written anything in regards to Oho Ake and the books themselves. Blogs, yes, I've written blogs over the last couple of years, but I just don't have the energy or time to do that. I'm more keen to do videos, because videos for me is much easier. It doesn't involve a lot of my time and energy. And for me to write a book, for me is a huge undertaking. And in 2019, I started writing a novel called Rigmarole, with a new voice that was moving through me called Dick Swab, which is very satirical, very funny, but also sharing some very deep information that I'd learned and discovered through the work of dark journalist Daniel Linst, Dr. Joseph P. Farrell, G.G. Young. These voices, these people, these researchers, these mystics were all offering information to me and explaining things to me in regards to the workings of certain aspects of society, scientific, mystery school work, and also intergalactic warfare. And I was looking at this, and I was beginning to see a very clear vision of what was manifesting in front of us on one particular timeline that was offered to us. I was writing about it in a very comedic way, but I walked away from it in 2020 because I just did not, after having the lockdown in New Zealand in 2020, from April through till the end of May, I read 8 books, took notes, and wrote 130 pages in that time, and I was fiercely moving into a place of like, I'm ready to finish this book as soon as the other information becomes available to me to continue to write this book and finish it. But for me, as a writer, the hardest thing for me to do is to spend my energy and time writing books that no one ever reads, since the self-published market is so full of books, and also the published market is so full of books, and people have their preferences. And my marketing has been shocking over the years. In fact, now it's non-existent. My marketing for me is using social media and telling people about my books. But all my books are ebooks because I want to keep the costs down. I have an editor, a proofreader, a cover illustrator, a videographer, who all work with me, and I produce my work. And the cost of doing that alone for me is extravagant in the sense of the way that I make money and able to spend money. And so if I wanted to have the freedom in the last few years to be able to travel more, to be able to live on the road a little bit more, to make more videos, to actually find the time to actually experience life and enjoy life rather than actually being behind a computer, writing, researching, which I do love doing, but without the income coming in for the books, it's no point for me, no point in my experience anyway of doing, and my feeling of doing this, continuing the process of writing. So I stopped, as simple as that. I stopped writing blogs that hardly anyone was ever reading, stopped writing books that no one was buying. And I'd love to be able to sell my books, and the people that have bought my books and have read my books have absolutely loved them. I'm not blowing my own trumpet here or being vain. I'm being honest. Everyone I know that's read my books, who reads my books and has read my books, loves them, because the books that I write, I've written for not only for myself and my healing process and my cathartic healing processes, but the books that I've written, they've aligned with them, the knowledge, the information, the writing style, everything about what I've done with those books makes them feel as though they're on the journey with me, which is the most important part of my writing process. Is I was writing books in every way that brought the reader into a place of deeper connection, not only with me, and it's one of the reasons why I make videos in the first place, is that readers of my books will understand more about me, who I am, what makes me tick, so you can get a greater idea of what it's like to read one of my books and go like, oh, this guy wrote this book, but brought in a part of himself from another part of existence, of another reality, and channeled it and worked with that part of himself to write this book. What an amazing feat, what an incredible journey. And look what the book's like. It's amazing, it's incredible, or it's shit. The choice is yours. It's about perception, isn't it? Some people, my books aren't going to be great. Other people, they're going to love them. It's just the way that it is. There's so many books that I've read over the years that people have raved about, and I thought of just absolute rubbish. So, it's all about some subjective experience and subjective perception. So for me, as a writer moving forward in 2024, it would be great to have more of my books sold, to be able to have an income from my books, spending a lot of money, up to 6 figures in the last, how long has it been? Since 2008, so almost 16 years since I've started Oho Ake. It'd be wonderful to be able to sell a lot of books, ebooks, and at some point get picked up by a publishing company that would want to publish my books as paperbacks, not hardcovers, but paperbacks. They're all ready to go in that sense too, but I was going to use Ingram Spark to do that. I still might do that. I looked at Ingram Spark a long time ago, many years ago, and I felt like Ingram Spark just wasn't up to the plate for me in regards to me being able to publish my books with them. I might revisit that at some point, but as an author, as an imaginist, as someone who's created this website, this YouTube channel as well, to give people a greater understanding of my own experiences moving through life as a conscious entity, as an awareness, having an experience in a avatar called a body of a man with the label Phareus. That's the label, and that label comes from Atlantis. It's not one word, it's in 3 words. Phareus. It's like a mantra in some way. My memory of that name in that lifetime, it was spoken like that. Phareus. It wasn't Phareus, it was Phareus. And in this lifetime, in this avatar, I've chosen to take on this name again, Phareus. I say it like that, and no one can, only Latin Americans really can say Phareus, and some used to Eastern Europeans. Most people, English speakers, got no idea what you're talking about. They think, where's that come from? Greece? And I often tell people it's from Greece. I won't tell them it's from Atlantis, that lifetime in Atlantis. And my memory of that lifetime in Atlantis, as I said before, the end of it, I don't remember much of the lifetime before the moments that I was shown in my waking experiences. But those helped me, those memories of those experiences that I had, which I wrote about in Sanctum, helped me to fashion the book, helped me to create the book, helped me to create the story around the book. And if I look for that redemption in this lifetime, or in that lifetime and in this lifetime as well. And as an author, as an imaginist, as a creator, those of us who choose to do this, have to have a balance. And for me, the balance is a work life. And a long time for me, it was I would be spending my time working, whether it would be working on film or working as an interior exterior decorator, or working any job I could possibly pick up and have that would pay for my creative experiences, my creative endeavors, my passion. And I'd often be in a situation where I'd let stories and information compound in me. I'd be drawn and guided to certain information, to certain individuals, researchers, and discover a lot about those particular topics before I began to allow all that information to compound in a way that would allow me to come to a point where eventually I knew I had to sit down and write. So I was thankful that my bosses at the time, the people I worked for, and working for myself, I was able to move out of contracts, move out of situations where I'd actually spend 4 to 6 weeks writing the first draft of a book, then go back to work, and then having my evenings with my editor, my proofreader, working back and forth with my books, editing, proofreading my books, getting to a place where I was ready to actually get my cover illustrator, Amber, to do my cover for me, and then have a vision of my cover, and then work back and forth with her in regards to the project and producing that, and eventually have the book typeset, and then have it produced, boom, and then release it on my website. So Ohoakebooks.com, Ohoakebooks.com. At some point I'm going to do more marketing for my books, and this is basically a marketing video. I'm not really good at this. I'm just telling you my experience around marketing, around my life in regards to my creative life. It'd be nice to sell more books. It'd be nice to be able to sell books, to be able to keep traveling and to keep being inspired and to keep making videos and to keep myself in a place where I felt like I was going to come back to the writing process, because the books that I write, yes, were cathartic in many ways for me and healed me in many ways. Writing those books was like the greatest gift for me, because it allowed me it showed me that I could complete something. Because before, I'd go to a certain point in my life and not complete something. I'd get to a point where I'd get to almost to the finish line and then fall back. And for me to finish one book, 1, 2, 3 books in 6 months, first draft, and to come to a place where I finished writing 13 books in 13 years. A book a year while holding down a full-time job was quite an effort. But for me, it felt like it was easy. And in that sense, the books that I wrote, looking back at them now, are very cathartic in many ways. Many, many ways. I've had many muses, and there have been beautiful muses, incredible muses that allowed me to write the books that I've written. And I'm so grateful for that. So those of you who buy my books, please, I hope that you enjoy them. I hope that you get a lot out of them. I hope that you understand that my writing process in regards to writing these books and creating these books was probably the greatest gift of my lifetime. And I'm so grateful that I've had the opportunity to juggle the light and the dark in my own being and my vision of the world, and understand that the two are necessary to bring the wholeness together, which creates our unified field that we exist in and that we are aware of being within and are part of. Thanks for watching. I truly appreciate it. Mā te ua. I'll see you again soon.